John Fredericks, America's Godzilla of Truth. He's popular and proficient in picking politics with prophetic precision. And now J. Fred's picking sports. Are y'all ready for this? All across the airwaves and streams of the John Fredericks Media Network, John, Jack, and Nate, three guys that are pretty wise when it comes to picking winners. Football, basketball, baseball, soccer, golf, UFC battles, you name it. When the game is on your mind and money's on the line, Godzilla Wins is your guide to picking winners. Before you make that play, hear what J. Fred has to say. Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
Oh yeah, for entertainment purposes only.
Everyone, and welcome to another lovely October morning here in Mississippi. Welcome to the Godzilla Saturday Picks Show. I'm your host, Jack Fredericks, as always, alongside senior editor at GodzillaWins.com, Nate Perry, and my father, the Godzilla of Truth, John Fredericks. We're also joined this hour, 8 to 9 Eastern Time, by Virginia State Senator Chap Peterson, here to talk a little baseball and a little college football with us, as well as senior contributor to GodzillaWins.com, writer of all three things sports, Dan Angel. We always love having Dan on the show. Excited to have him back to do some college picks. Huge week for college football. Gigantic week for college football. 9 to 10 Eastern Time, we'll switch to the NFL, where we will be joined by James Tillman III for the afternoon games and Darian Kelly from the Jersey Sports Blog for the those are the afternoon or the evening games for Darian. We are amped for this show. Couldn't bring you a better show than this one. All the baseball you can ever ask for, and probably even a little bit more that you didn't ask for, college football and the NFL. But before we do that, we got to remind everybody, hey, listen, GodzillaWins.com and all its subsidiaries are for entertainment purposes only. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537 in Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, Nebraska, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. Call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelpline-ma.org. In Massachusetts, call 877-GHOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In New York, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 in Kansas, New Hampshire, 888-789-7777 or visit ccp.org. In Connecticut, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or visit opgr.org in Oregon. Please gamble responsibly, everybody. Okay, looks like I got Nate here. Looks like I got Dan and Chap as well. So I know my father texted me, said he's going to be a little late. No surprise, he's on the bus tour. Which means he's going to be a little late as always. So, y'all, let's start because when we'll talk about DraftKings when my father gets in here. He can tell us all about that. So we'll just start with baseball here. We're going to do first 30 minutes of baseball since we got the ALCS and the NLCS really heating up. And Dan, I don't think I would have even put this in the run sheet for today if the series hadn't all of a sudden tightened up. Let's start with the ALCS. I mean, I'll just set both y'all up for both series. The ALCS, Rangers jump out to a 2-0 lead, and everything looks like it's going the Rangers' way. Game 1, they make a couple of great defensive plays. They shut out the Astros. Game 2, they jump on top of them, and the Astros couldn't sort of climb back. And then all of a sudden, game 3, 4, and 5 in Arlington, Houston takes 2 of those games by a pretty wide margin and wins a shocker last night after a major altercation. Saw Martin Maldonado, Dusty Baker, and Abreu, as well as Garcia, all thrown out of the game. I don't know if Maldonado was thrown out of the game. I know Garcia, Baker, and Abreu were. So, Dan, I'll just start with you. I mean, we can start with the game itself. Game 6 in Houston. Texas is a 1.5 point dog in the run line, over under 8.5. or we could just talk a little bit about the series in general. I'll let you take it wherever you would like to go with it.
I mean, it's really tough to see how Texas gets off the mat from this. I mean, the knock on the Rangers coming in was that they didn't really have enough pitching to match up with the Astros for the course of a 7-game series. We saw that Texas was able to get a couple good starts at the start of the series, but as they got deeper into the rotation, it just did not work. I mean, Max Scherzer clearly just not the same pitcher that he was. And Game 5 really seemed to be where the series probably turned. And that was a game that Texas really should have won. The fact that they didn't, and now they've got to go back to Houston, down 3-2, having given away the lead, and they don't have the pitching edge anymore because, I mean, they've got to win both of these games. I mean, maybe they've got a decent edge in Game 6 pitching-wise, but how are they going to get through a Game 7 if it comes to that? So it just seems pretty bleak from a Rangers perspective right now.
Nate, I mean, you're more interested in, I think, the NLCS because of that big ticket. But as far as from a gambling perspective, you've been hitting some pitcher props lately, kind of going through all that. But I guess we'll just start a little bit just with the Astros Rangers. I mean, can the Rangers kind of battle back and win 2 games in Houston? Last night seemed like a horrible blow.
I mean, I think if last night wasn't so like just vintage Astros, I would think maybe. But this is like what the Astros do when they're like looking almost unbeatable. This is the team that looks like, a team that's been to the World Series the last couple of years. I mean, it's always Altuve, right? I mean, we were texting about it when it was happening. Like, is there any active player that has more memorable clutch hits in the postseason than Jose Altuve right now? I mean, he's just always there. And I think the Astros just feel inevitable at this point to me. I mean, despite, Evaldi's been great in the postseason, and I think that he'll be tough in Game 6, but like we were talking about yesterday, I mean, the real issue for the Rangers is if they have to go to Game 7. I think that's when the problems really start for them. So it feels like the Astros are just the team now, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the way I feel about it is a blow like that at this point in the series is just a tough blow to come back to, and then you got to go to Houston. I mean, they've won in Houston. Obviously, Arlington was not the place where they were winning any games, and they haven't done that all year against the Astros. The Astros own them in Globe Life Park, so hard to know exactly if home field advantage will take too much of an edge here. But I guess for me, I mean, it was vintage Altuve. You sort of saw it coming. Leclerc had to sit on the bench for a long time, which is never good, especially for a guy who hasn't had to do that a lot this year. And the Astros, I think everybody was a little fired up after Abreu hit Garcia intentionally or unintentionally. I'm not sure. I would hope that it was unintentional. I just don't see the strategy in hitting a guy when you're down 4-2 in the 8th inning, putting another runner on. I mean, the Rangers can really uncork at any point. So to have 2 guys on with the meat of the order up, and then you miss a pitch and the guy hits it a mile, and all of a sudden it's 7-2. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know, Dan, if you watch the game, if you think that Alvarez hit him or Abreu hit him on purpose or what? I mean, it just seems like a weird thing for the Astros to get mad about. These guys celebrate all the time, but maybe he was pissed.
To see it, but I mean, I don't really think that the whole fiasco was that the getting hit by the pitch was an intentional thing. I mean, in a regular season game, maybe, but in a situation like this, I really doubt that a team would intentionally make a move like that with this much on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Chap, love to welcome you in here. I don't know. I know we talked about you talking some college football with us, but we're going to do baseball for a little bit. So I wasn't sure if you've been following the series as closely as some others. Do you got any thoughts on this crazy ALCS so far?
You know what? I don't follow baseball as closely as I follow football. There's something about the Astros. They're a little bit like the New England Patriots were, in a decade ago in football. They just win. They tend to win big games, and they're just very, very good in the postseason. They're very, very sound fundamentally. And so, nothing that they've done it shocks me. I have not watched every inning of every game. I've listened to a lot of it on the radio. But Altuve's he's a Hall of Fame player in my opinion, and I think the Astros will probably pull it out.
Yeah, well, look, we'll see. We're going to talk about Game 6 in a minute and get the spreads and everything. I want to get some props in if you guys have them as well. But we're going to welcome in my father, John Frederick, Godzilla of Truth, into the show right now. Dad, we only have 5 minutes on the Astros, so you can't do 20 minutes gloating about how they won that game. I will say I'm not going to have a lot of patience for your gloating anyway, because you called me when it was 4-2 and you said this is a stupid game and we're going to lose and we suck and now we got to win 2 in Houston. And I told you, hey, look, it's 4-2. Anything could happen. It's a postseason game. So I don't know. Mr. Positivity has really turned into Mr. Negativity here in this Texas series. Been a couple times when you've been basically throwing the Astros games away as just losers. So, but take a couple minutes, talk to us about your favorite team, then we'll move on.
Well, son, I think we reverse roles. That's the bottom line here, because normally you're the pessimist, I'm the optimist. I think, even when we were down 3-0 at Tampa Bay, I thought 3 years ago we could come back and win this thing. So we reverse roles here. But look, Altuve is that 3-run homer. I mean, I've seen so many of these, but that was unbelievable. But I tell you what, I'm going to give you a second shout out here, Jack, because you nailed this. And you told me, look, this team has got 4 pitchers. Leclerc is not going to close 4 games. He's not going to pitch in 6 games and not get hit. They're going to keep seeing him. It is inevitable. They nail this guy, and you are absolutely correct there. So that 3-run homer, look, even when we were down 2-0, now it's 3-2. You're still going to play the game. But I agree with Dan's assessment here. We're in a great position because they just don't have any pitching. And so how they get to that 7th game, I have no earthly idea. And the thing is about Framber, who's starting Sunday night, you have no idea what Framber's going to show up. You have no idea. He gets bombed. He throws a no-hitter. He looked horrible, pretty rested bullpen. So I feel that this is now the Astros have totally seized control of this thing. And if you're the Rangers, that's got to be the biggest downer. Going home up 2-0, losing all 3 games. You got really one pitcher remaining, Evaldi. He's got to beat him again, and then you maybe get to a 7th game. But I love the Astros in the series. And I the other thing is, look, did Abreu throw at Garcia? Only Abreu and Maldonado have that answer. We don't know. On paper, it made no sense because the game is close. You got a guy out first. But I also know the team, and I know Maldonado. It wouldn't.
And it's also a heck of a coincidence.
He's got. If I had to wager, I'd absolutely throw at him.
Yeah.
It looks like he did. All the Astros are saying no, he didn't. That's dumb. We would never do that in this series. After
that bat flip, it makes sense.
But from a strategic, from a strategy standpoint, it's dumb. And the bat flip wasn't that egregious. He slams the bat on the ground. I've seen the Astros do worse stuff since they started winning all these games in 2017, really, than that. We've seen that. It just seems like a really, I know they have a lot of history. They hate Garcia. They're always getting in fights. Everybody on the Rangers hates Maldonado. So, I get it. But it just, I don't know. But yeah, it looked like he hit him. It didn't look like it was anywhere close. And Abreu hasn't been anything but accurate in the zone all game. So then all of a sudden a pitch slips off his fingers. It doesn't make any sense. All postseason, he's been our best pitcher. And that's been true really for most of the year. And then he just hits a guy on accident. It's not like he has control issues. So, it's disappointing if it happened because that game could have been 7-2, and then the 3-run home run wouldn't have meant anything. Dan, I want to get to your pick for Game 6. I think we'll just do Game 6 The run line here is Texas plus 1.5. Over-under's 8.5. That busted last night at 9. Nate had that. He lost. Texas is plus 100 on the money line. Houston minus 120. If you're picking game 6, what do you think?
I mean, picking game 6, I have to lean on toward Texas here because I think they have the edge pitching wise in game 6 because you don't know what you're going to get with Valdez. But I mean, I don't think it's going to make a difference because I think Texas will force the game 7 and then have really no way to fight back in that 7th game. I mean, unless they get the bullpen game of all bullpen games, I think Houston takes it in 7 games.
Nate, what do you think?
I mean, so you kind of tease it a little bit. So I've been betting all these pitcher props, right? I've been talking to you about it like all week. And the one that I've been hitting quite a bit, that's almost just an auto bet for me that's happening in game 6 with the Astros is Evaldi's just been a strikeout machine. And they keep setting his total Ks at 4.5. And he threw 7 2 starts ago and he threw 9 in his last start. So over 4.5 has been cashing pretty easily. My initial gut inclination is just let it ride again and just over 4.5 strikeouts for Evaldi at least. But yeah, I mean, after Evaldi, they don't have much of a defense against Astros, and the Astros are rightfully, I think, a minus 125 favorite in this game. So I don't really see any value there.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the run line at Rangers plus 1.5. I think the game will be close regardless, and might not take the dog. The pitching prop I like too. I think Evaldi's been a beast, and he probably shuts down the Astros. And that the series goes to 7. And just like Dan said, I think in 7 games, Astros probably win this series because the Rangers don't have enough pitching. But, we'll see. That game's on Sunday night. Astros haven't played as well at home as they have on the road. They love playing on the road. So we shall see. Now, if you are an Astros fan, a Rangers fan, or any fan of baseball, football, or tennis, soccer, who knows, fan of anything, and you live in a state where DraftKings is legal, you can take advantage of the best promo code in the history of promo codes, and that's Godzilla. At this time, right now, if you don't have a DraftKings account, you can go sign up at DraftKings.com. Just type in DraftKings.com, the little icon there in the right-hand corner that'll help you navigate to the sign-up page, and type in promo code Godzilla. That's going to get you that's going to get you $200 in free play on a $5 bet. All you got to do, go to DraftKings.com, click the icon on the right-hand side. Sign up in a state where DraftKings is legal. Promo code Godzilla is the promo code you use. Promo code Godzilla. Greatest promo code in the history of promo codes, as far as I'm concerned. Easy to remember, easy to spell. Everybody knows Godzilla. Go to DraftKings.com, sign up, promo code Godzilla, and you can turn $5 bet into $200 in free play. Can't beat that. Of course, as always, make sure you gamble responsibly. Call the gambling hotline if you have an issue. Looks like Dad is back here, having some computer issues. No, you're on the bus. That happens. So
yeah, I'm on the bus, and we're in rural Virginia. So I got to go after this segment because I'm going to keep losing connections. But here's my picks, and I'm going to do 2 propositions as well, which I don't ever do. But Nate's got me fired up. Astros are going to win this thing in 6, so forget about it. Framber, I'm betting the over on innings. I think he goes 6. I think he goes over tonight. I think he comes back, and I'm betting Sunday. The whatever Sunday, whatever of all these innings are. I'm taking the under. It's very difficult to beat this lineup 2 times in this many days when they've already. They're going to have seen Evaldi by the second time they get up 5 or 6 times in 6 days. They're just very tough. So that's what I like. Also, I'm tonight. I love the D-backs. I mean, you got to bet the D-backs tonight.
Yeah, this team we're not there yet. This
team was written. I know, but I got to go. This team was written off for dead. They won these 2 games at home. The win last night was incredible. I think they win these 3 games at home. All right, guys. Thank you for being. Thank you for taking me. I got to roll. Thank you.
All right. Well, that was fun. Maybe he'll come back. Maybe I'll talk to him tomorrow. Who knows? So, just like he said, let's preview the Diamondback series here. Look, Phillies Diamondbacks. Wow. I mean, let me just set you up, Dan. I'm going to start with you here. But I mean, I thought the Diamondbacks were dead. I'm not going to lie. I watch a lot of baseball. I understand how the postseason works. I know that the momentum swings are crazy, but I mean, a 10-0 just bludgeoning in Citizens Bank Park in game 2, not the vet, Dan, but the bank. And then the D-backs come back and they walk it off twice, both on Craig Kimbrell implosions. Now, the story has always been with the Phillies that their bullpen is a disaster. And so when their bullpen's a disaster, that means it can be difficult to win high leverage games in the postseason, especially on the road. 2 nights ago, they walk it off. And then last night, I think Alec Thomas hits a game-tying 3-run bomb. Then they walk it off a little bit later. Craig Kimbrell, Rob Thompson says, hey, listen, maybe he's not our closer anymore. Not a good time to be shuffling the bullpen around and trying to find a closer, Dan. Are the Phillies in trouble, or can they still take control of this series pretty quickly? Dan, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think the Phillies are in a little bit of trouble, but I still think that I'd rather be Philadelphia than Arizona in this series. I mean, the Phillies still are by far the better team top to bottom. They still have 2 of these 3 games at home. I mean, they've outplayed Arizona in most of these games in Phoenix. It's just been they can't close the door, which that happens sometimes. So I don't really think Philadelphia needs to panic. I think that it's going to be a challenge to get that momentum back, but given what's left of this series, given that they still have 2 home games, given that they've been pretty dominant through the first 7 innings of each game, I would rather be in Philadelphia's shoes.
Nate, do you agree? I mean, no, I know you agree. You got that Phillies ticket, 23-33-1, but now all of a sudden not looking so hot after you were so confident about 3 days ago.
Yeah, I mean, 3 days ago, the confidence was unmatched. Philadelphia's are for sure winning the World Series. This team can't be beat. Now, I mean, I agree with Dan. I still think I'd rather be the Phillies. I mean, you get Zach Wheeler going out there today. That's good for you. I mean, Gallen's obviously not a pushover, but I like their chances today. And then, you get Nola coming up. I still think the Phillies are probably in a better spot. They have looked better for longer stretches of games, to sort of continue what Dan was saying. But gosh, the Diamondbacks magic is just scary, though. I mean, watching the end of the game yesterday was pretty upsetting, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's magic, Nate. The Phillies bullpen blows.
Yeah.
Like, what's magical about taking advantage of a bullpen that can't, like?
I guess it's magical, and the Diamondbacks aren't that great at hitting. They just they just find a way like they did yesterday. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that obviously there's a little bit of magic in the postseason when it comes to some of these teams. If I'm the Astros or I'm an Astros fan or the Rangers, let's say they win either team, and you're facing the D-backs, I mean, you think, okay, well, this is going to be easy. Like, I mean, it's going to be a sweep, or we're going to win 5 games. At some point, they stop hitting. There's some numbers out there that suggest the Diamondbacks have been kind of on one of the luckiest sort of streaks. They've just been an incredibly lucky team, but I don't think that's been true. The last 2 games, I don't think that they play like scared. I mean, they play like 23-year-olds. They kind of play like the 2003 Marlins. They've got Longoria, who's been there before, and they have good pitching. They can match Wheeler tonight if they can keep the ball in the ballpark. But I think you got to like the Phillies. Even still, the Diamondbacks still have to win at least 1 game at Citizens Bank Park. Nobody does that anymore. I mean, it's too hard in playoffs. The Braves couldn't do it. The Diamondbacks haven't done it yet. The Astros did it in the World Series. That was the only team to do it in the last 2 years. And the Astros are a little bit different. So there's a lot when you're the Phillies, there's a lot to be confident about, but you don't want to drop 3 at home and then be counting on Craig Kimbrell and Jose Alvarado and some of these other guys to come in and shut the door in games 6 and 7 it can just unravel so quickly. And I think I don't really understand the Rob Thompson move of saying to the media that maybe Kimbrel is going to be moved down to a lower like leverage position. He's not going to be the closer anymore. I mean, I understand that probably everybody thinks that. We're all looking at that saying, well, of course he's not going to be the closer anymore. Look at him blowing these saves. But it's different. Like if you move a guy down in the lineup in the postseason, they can always get hot. You really destroy a pitcher's confidence if you're like, he's our guy, and then all of a sudden he blows 2 saves, and you're like, oh no, actually he's the setup man, or he's coming in the 7th, or we're not going to see him again. If you don't see him again, that's fine, but you don't have anyone else. So I worry that the Phillies are going to have trouble closing out 2 more games, and if they lose 3 in Phoenix, then the pressure's on for them to win 2 in Philly. So you never know, but you still got to like the Phillies here. They are a 1.5 run line favorite. Over under is 8. I think I kind of like the under here with Wheeler and Kalen going. I don't know how you guys feel about that. And as far as the money line, I mean, I couldn't tell you. I'd probably just take the plus money on the Diamondbacks, but I don't think it's going to be a game where a lot of runs are scored. These 2 pitchers have really, I mean, they're just incredible. So unless you're thinking that the floodgate's going to open in the 8th and 9th, I kind of like the over under here at 8. But it looks like we all like the Phillies to advance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd laid like the minus 200 on it right now, but I think they will advance. Yeah,
You better hope they do.
Nobody's hoping more than me on this show.
God.
Yeah. So. Okay, so we have a couple more minutes here before we get to football, but I'm sure we could do a little football early. You know, why don't we do this, Dan? Because we got 3 minutes, and I'm a little tired of talking about baseball. I was going to put this in the run sheet, Dan, but I wasn't totally I didn't think we had enough time, but I think we do now. You know, as we move on to college football here, there is on GodzillaWins.com, and then just in general with your own sort of betting, you do a lot of FCS games or a lot of games kind of off the beaten path. And I know I'm throwing you on the I didn't let you prepare for this, so if you don't have any games, that's fine. But just with these couple minutes that we have, I'm wondering if there are some games, college football games, Friday or Saturday or Sunday, I guess Saturday now, that maybe are a little undervalued, that are off the beaten path that you are looking at.
Well, I mean, I had one from last night that worked out really nicely for me. SMU smashing Temple. I mean, Temple is just a horrendous football team, so that one worked out really well for me. One that I'm taking a look at in this first window of games is Air Force against Navy. I think that 10 might just not be enough points to give Air Force the respect that it deserves. I mean, this Air Force team has really looked strong all season, and I think that when they really get going, because I mean, of course they run the triple option Service Academy, but when they really get going, they are really difficult to stop. And even though Navy knows what's coming, I don't think that they can handle what Air Force brings to the table. So the FCS picks, it's tough to really say much about that at this point, because the thing that sucks about FCS betting is the lines aren't out yet.
Yeah, that's right.
You have to wait until 2 hours before game time and then run your numbers if you've got them to know which way you're going to go. So FCS betting can be lucrative if you know what you're doing, but you've got to make a really quick decision because they don't give you much time at all to get those bets in.
I imagine that's got to be a bit of an adrenaline rush to know that the game's starting in 25 minutes while you're running your model to see if you can get an edge on the North Carolina A&T game. But you know, suppose look, it can be lucrative. So go, for everybody listening, go to GodzillaWins.com, find all of Dan's college football picks. He's working hard for us right now to get a bunch of college football picks in. We're going to talk about the big games here in a minute. Some of these ranked teams are clashing, and he's got a ton of content up on the site right now. So go to GodzillaWins.com, go click on that college football tab, scroll down, you'll see all his picks. He's got, I think, 3 separate picks, and then a week 8 just general college football preview. So you can find all of his writing there. Now, before we get on to the big games for college football, we got to talk a little bit about Beard Vet Coffee. This is some of the best coffee, y'all, that I have ever tasted. And if you're on the Getter chat, you'll see periodically someone or a couple people will say, hey, look, got my Beard Vet Coffee going. That's because it's just incredible coffee. It's extremely, extremely popular with our listeners. You can go to beardvet.com. That's beardvet.com. Put in the promo code Godzilla. Get you 10% off on all of your coffee and beard needs. I'm the only one on here except for Chap, who's got a beard. So if you go to beardvet.com, you can find your beard tinctures as well. We love Beard Vet for a variety of reasons. My number one reason that I love them, other than the fact that the coffee tastes amazing, is that the deals are great and it gets there quickly. Hard to beat that. Of course, you can always go out to the store, buy the Folgers or whatever, or something that's marked up crazy that somehow got into the Walmart or the big box. But what I like to do is I like to go to beardvet.com. That's beardvet.com. Put in that promo code Godzilla. Get all of my coffee needs. You won't be disappointed. They'll ship it to you quick, and you get a little bit of discount, so you don't even have to worry about the shipping. You don't have to pay for extra because it comes quickly. Get the whole bean. Get the fine ground, the Keurig cups. They got everything for you. Beardvet.com. That's beardvet.com. We always want to thank them for partnering with us. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about college football here. We got the big games, but then I started with a weird game. I don't know why I did this. I think it's because, and we'll start with Nate here. I think it's because I love Tulane, Nate. You know, I live in New Orleans, so there's that. They're ranked, which I always find to be hilarious and awesome. They run the triple option, but I'm always trying to sneak Tulane on here and then justify why we're talking about them. I believe they're a 20.5-point favorite. Over under here is 63. They can score. That's against North Texas. North Texas going on the road. Tough to play in New Orleans. Nate, what do you think here?
Yeah, so Tulane's headed back to Yeoman Stadium. I mean, I guess so. Both of these teams, by the look of it, don't have awesome passing defense. Tulane's numbers are pretty good, just like on the whole defensively. They're not bad, but they do struggle against the pass in the secondary. So, and I think that North Texas, for all of their many flaws, should be able to move the ball through the air against Tulane. So that's sort of my first read of the game. My second read of the game is that Tulane will absolutely be able to move the ball against North Texas because they play horrible defense. So this feels a little bit like two teams kind of moving it up and down the field in big chunks. I don't think that North Texas is a 20.5-point dog. I just don't see it. North Texas has played, pretty decently the last few weeks. I mean, they destroyed Temple. Temple's terrible. And they just, since that first sort of week 1 blowout against Cal, they just haven't looked like as awful as this 20.5-point spread would suggest. So I kind of like North Texas plus the points here. I think they'll be able to get enough big chunk plays through the air to be able to keep this closer than 3 touchdowns.
Dan, you feel the same way here with Tulane?
Nate, they lost to Florida International.
Yeah, but I mean, they scored a jillion points against Florida International, at least,
and they gave up even more against.
I know, I know. I mean, that's my thing. But 20.5 is a big spread.
It is. But when you're giving up 46 points to Florida International, I mean, what are you going to do against Tulane's offense? It's a lot of points, but I think Tulane just goes right through North Texas, and I think this one ends up pretty ugly.
Yeah, so Chap.
Yes, sir.
I'll bring you in here for Tulane, North Texas. What do you think?
Okay. I don't know a lot about these teams, but I'm looking at the over-under of 63, and if the defense is as bad as you say it is, that may be one to tap the over. I've seen Tulane a couple times. I know nothing about North Texas other than they're 3-3 and their logo is an eagle. That's the extent of my research. But I would probably go over on 63. It sounds like nobody can tackle.
Yeah, look, I mean, all those points that they gave up. Who knows if Tulane's defense isn't that bad, but North Texas seems to be. So I'm kind of with you there. I like the over under 63. That is a ton of points, but I think that is something you can sort of root for. So we'll see. Okay, let's move on to some of the bigger games here.
Yep.
We'll move on to Duke at Florida State. Now I know, I believe, Dan, that this is one of yours that you wrote up for GodzillaWins.com. So we'll start with you. I know you're kind of, I mean, you follow college football just everywhere, but I noticed that when you're picking some of these games, you tend to gravitate. I don't know if it's toward Duke or maybe Florida State or just kind of that part of the ACC. Seems like you see a lot of value in some of those teams. So I'll set you up here. Duke is a 14.5-point dog. They're traveling to Tallahassee to play Florida State, number 14 in the country. Duke 16th. Over under 49.5. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, the reason that I've gravitated toward Duke is they've actually played some big games this season.
Yeah.
I mean, playing Clemson on national TV. NC State was a battle of two teams that were both very much in the ACC race, and now this one is probably the biggest game that Florida State's going to play the rest of the year, which is frankly remarkable that you're saying that about a game with Duke, who Florida State is 19-0 all time against. I mean, I think that basically with this bet, is Riley Leonard going to play? Because if he does play, then Duke has a chance to keep this thing close. If not, then this is going to look a lot like the first 19 Duke-Florida State meetings. I think Florida State has the much stronger team. I think Duke's defense is good enough to keep the game close if Leonard is on the field for the offense. But if he's not playing, then this is going to be one-way traffic.
Yeah, Nate, what do you think here? I mean, Duke has played some big games, but Florida State is Florida State.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that I think that, Leonard is the big key. He just adds so much to Duke's offense, and I think that's going to be huge, particularly how he is as a runner is going to be massive for them to miss. I guess what I'm looking at is, I've sort of been looking at, I throw out some of the Duke games against Lafayette. I'm not putting a ton into that score, or UConn. But in some of these games where they played, a little bit more competitive teams, particularly the last couple of weeks against NC State and against Notre Dame, Duke plays pretty low scoring games, and both these teams play pretty slow. My sort of, I think the way that I kind of lean towards this is under 49.5. It sort of eliminates some of the issues surrounding the sort of Leonard question. I think, Duke is pretty comfortable playing in a low-scoring game. I mean, obviously, Florida State has been scoring a ton of points, but everyone's struggled against the Duke secondary this year. I don't think Florida State just gets totally loose. So my thought is probably under 49.5 is probably kind of where I would prefer to put my money in this game.
Listen, Chap, I mean, this got to be your game right here. I know you're an ACC guy, so what do you think?
I actually like Duke, and I don't like Duke in that I don't like Duke University. And I usually root against it at every opportunity. But I like their football team. And the part that's impressed me about their football team is their defense. I was shocked when I watched them play Clemson at how fast their defense moved to the ball. Their pass rush was outstanding. Same thing against Notre Dame. They had Hartman under pressure all game. So leaving apart Riley Leonard, I know everybody's raving about him, Mel Kiper, everybody else. I really like their defense. And I have not been sold on Florida State. They were lucky to beat Boston College, who's absolutely terrible. They beat Virginia Tech, but to be honest, that game was closer than the score showed. I mean, they got off to a big lead and Tech came back. I'm not overly blown away by Florida State. I don't think Travis Leonard, I think he's a little bit overrated. I actually like Duke. I'm not saying I like them straight up. If Leonard was fully healthy, I might like him straight up, but I definitely like him. I have 14 on my board. If you have 14.5, I would get in on Duke, even if Leonard doesn't play. I think their defense is good enough to keep this a competitive game. And I would not be shocked if they pull an upset here. Again, if Leonard can play, I don't know who their backup is, so it's hard for me to make this prediction. But if Leonard can play, I would not be shocked if they pulled this off. Again, I'm not buying into Florida State. I really like Duke's defense. I've been shocked by how athletic they are on defense. So that's a pick I really like today is getting Duke, especially if Leonard can play.
Yeah, listen, Dan, here I want to ask you this question real quick, then we'll move on because I think that Duke can keep this close enough to cover the 14, but of course, without Riley Leonard, who knows? I just want to talk about Florida State for a minute because I was kind of shocked. I mean, I follow college football pretty frequently, but I kind of thought Florida State had lost a game. I think I was thinking back to that Boston College game where they didn't look so good. They're the 4th team in the country right now. They'd be in a lock for the new college football playoff, the expanded version. But, you know, my question to you, Dan, is like, is Florida State going to lose at some point, or is this the number 4 team? Are they going to run the table at the ACC? Is this the team to beat in that conference?
If they win this game, they're running the table. I mean, the rest of their schedule is an absolute joke. Like, following this game, they've got at Wake Forest, at Pittsburgh, Miami, North Alabama, and at Florida. I mean, there's not a good team in that list. Like, Duke is by
respect
far
on North Alabama.
I mean,
you never know.
Jack, do you even know what North Alabama's mascot is?
No, I know UAB is the Dragons, though.
No, I don't know. Is it muscle?
They're the Lions.
Officers, I don't know.
Lions. There we go.
I've actually covered UNA basketball at Indiana, strangely enough. But
Where are they? Are they located in Huntsville?
Florence, actually.
Alabama. Florence, of course, naturally. Yeah. Florence, Alabama, huge hotspot for culture. Basically, the zeitgeist here in America, Florence, Alabama. So,
yeah. I mean, this schedule is just a complete joke the rest of the way for Florida State. Basically, it's all roads lead to that ACC title game against probably North Carolina, which would actually be a really good matchup. But if FSU does beat Duke, then there is no reason why this team shouldn't be 12-0 going into that game.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll see. You know, I think they're a interesting team to look at, but those ACC teams in the college football playoff haven't exactly had a lot of success outside of Clemson, of course. So, you know, we'll see. Although Florida State, I think that was still the BCS when they won, when they had Jameis. So, you know, we'll see. Okay, let's go out west now through Utah, USC on the schedule, mostly for, I think, Nate, who I don't know. I feel like you're back and forth on Utah all the time. I feel like we all are. I never know what to think about this Utah team. Amazing defense, but then sometimes they lay a stinker. USC lost, correct? I think that's why they're 18th in the country.
Right.
So, you know, hard to know exactly what's going on. USC in Los Angeles here, -6.5 point favorite. Over/unders 52, kind of high for a Utah game, but of course, Caleb Williams and USC can put up the points. I'll start with Nate. Do you like USC, or you want to see Utah cover here?
I think that I'm always sort of going to lean towards Utah in this game. But I guess what scares me about Utah is we don't really know who's going to play quarterback, which has been a problem. The offense has not been very good while they've been sort of figuring out this quarterback issue for Utah. But USC's looked like weirdly vulnerable. Caleb Williams gets this huge piece in ESPN about how he's the greatest prospect since Peyton Manning at quarterback. And then all he does is throw 3 first-half interceptions against Notre Dame. He's fumbled the ball 9 times this season so far. He's just sort of been a turnover machine. So I have a hard time laying points with like USC right now, I guess, just given how sort of weird he's looked, even though he's been, you know, sort of incredible hype, because Utah plays real defense.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll probably just go under 52. But if Utah creeps up to like 7, like I'll probably have to take Utah just out of principle. Just to kind of keep this game close. I mean, teams haven't struggled to move the ball against USC's very bad defense. So even though Utah's been struggling on the offensive side of the ball, USC's defense will probably make them look at least okay. And it's quite possible that Caleb Williams could struggle again like he did last week.
Yeah, Chap, you think Utah will give Caleb Williams some fits here? +6.5, kind of an interesting number.
Yeah, I mean, I think Utah's probably one of the top 3, maybe 4 defenses in the country. I really like their defense. As much as I like Duke, I like Utah even better. But, of course, they do that every year, so that's not a surprise. I think if Utah had Rising back at quarterback, they would have been a national champion contender. I like them straight up against USC. I think USC is unfit.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've got 7 on my board. I'd play Utah on that. But I mean, look, Utah, or excuse me, USC, they got blown out in Notre Dame. They struggled to beat Colorado. I mean, I'm looking to see what is their signature win. Utah is a very tough team, and I just think USC is soft, and I think they're going to get beat. So,
Dan, we talked a lot about that Notre Dame game. I mean, I think everybody was shocked at the results. I mean, Notre Dame blew the doors off of them, but Caleb Williams had like 3 picks in the first half. It seemed like kind of an anomaly for him for his game. Do you like Utah here? It looks like Chap's taking them straight up, taking the money line.
I think I might have to lean the same way.
I love it.
I mean, I'm looking at my model's numbers, and the model doesn't know that Cam Rising ever played for Utah at this point because it has 6 weeks of data of Utah with no Cam Rising, and it still thinks Utah is 3 points better than USC in Los Angeles. It would take Utah by 6 on a neutral field. So, yeah, I mean, this USC team has not looked good in a month, really. They allowed Arizona State to hang around too long. Arizona State's horrible. They allowed Colorado to come back. Colorado is proving to be not a very good team, and they really should have gotten beat by Arizona. Arizona is looking much better than what anyone expected, but still, there is no reason that if USC was a championship contender, that it should have been in 4 overtimes against the Wildcats. So I think USC is basically like they can't stop anything, and Utah has figured out what they have to do to win without Cam Rising. So I think in this situation, it's going to be Utah who pulls it off. And I mean, even if USC does come out with the win this week, they're setting themselves up to just get creamed the last couple weeks of the season because they've got to play Washington and Oregon back to back. That's going to go well.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. The Pac-12 is just loaded this year. All those games have been exciting the whole time. So the whole season. Look, I mean, y'all are going to cost me some money. Hopefully you make me some money. But now you've convinced me that Utah plus 200 money line is the play. I'm going to be driving up to Tunica, standing in line at the sports bet to the sports book to book that play. Well, hopefully it cashes, because if it doesn't, I'm gonna none of y'all are allowed back on the show. It'll be me complaining about how Utah lost. But who knows? It's weird because I mean, I know USC is ranked lower because of the loss last week. They got blown out, so it's kind of weird. But it's also, I don't know, plus 200 that's pretty. Maybe Vegas is baiting us into something. Maybe they know something we don't. But both the models like Utah. You love Utah's defense. Maybe USC just starts to implode here a little bit. Sometimes that happens with these teams. So we'll see. I'm with you guys now. I'm taking Utah money line plus 200. Love the play. Got to have a little fun on Saturday. Can't just be
take a chance.
These spreads. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to have a little bit of cash on the money line. So love the play there. Very excited. Should be a lot of fun. Let's go to Tennessee, Alabama, down to the SEC. Dan, I know you wrote up this game. I'm glad you did. This is a historic game. I'm sure you were aware. I'm sure that's one of the reasons it's on the schedule. Tennessee always gives Alabama fits, even when they suck. That's just kind of how this game goes. This is the West-East rival. Tennessee hates Alabama. I mean, I've been in the South my entire life. I grew up in Georgia. I know way too many Tennessee fans, and I know way too many Alabama fans, and they both hate each other. There's no fan base that hates Alabama, I think, more than Tennessee. Even Auburn can sometimes be like, well, it's Alabama. Tennessee, they don't like it. Although Auburn hates Alabama too. So, I think both those probably right there. I'm at Ole Miss, so we don't hate anybody except for Arkansas and LSU.
You don't hate Mississippi State?
Well, we hate Mississippi State. I hate Mississippi State, Arkansas, LSU, and I'm not a huge fan of Memphis or Tulane either, or Southern Miss. And
we don't hate anybody, and you name 6 teams.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind UGA, I guess. They're okay. Well, actually, they can be kind of annoying too. So, I definitely hate Auburn. So, and I'm not a huge fan of Tennessee. Tennessee.
I think left Vanderbilt out at this point.
Oh my God, yeah, Vanderbilt's always pissing me off because they're always beating Ole Miss, so I forgot about them too. Well, I don't hate UL Lafayette. That's a team that that I can get behind. There, ULL Raging Cajuns. Okay, so let's talk Tennessee, Alabama. We'll start with Dan here. Tennessee plus 8.5. What do you think?
Well, I mean, if Tennessee is able to keep this thing within 8.5 in Tuscaloosa, that might really be the sign that the Saban dynasty is over, because Tennessee, when they keep it close, the game's in Knoxville. Tennessee basically just gets its doors blown off in Tuscaloosa. Like, it hasn't been close in Tuscaloosa for a while, but I don't really think Alabama should be giving 8.5 points to anyone except possibly Vanderbilt at this point. I mean, the Tide just keep finding ways to win the game, but they also keep finding ways to keep the opponent hanging around for the whole game. So, yeah, I'm just not like, I think Alabama will win the game, but I'm not confident that they can actually blow Tennessee out.
Yeah, look, Chap, I don't know what your board says. I looked at 8.5 and was pretty surprised for the same reason.
Yeah.
Tennessee or Alabama lets these teams hang around. That's true. I don't think they're gonna. I don't know if they're gonna lose the rest of the way. That's kind of how Alabama is sometimes. They lose a game, then they run the table in the SEC. But 8.5 is a lot for a team that just is comfortable winning games by 3 right now.
Yeah, I've got 9 on my board. I'm on ESPN.com. I've got 9 with an over under of 47.5. I haven't watched an Alabama game all the way through. Again, I'm sort of driving around. I listen to it on the radio. They don't seem anywhere near as dynamic as they used to be on offense. When they had Tua, when they had Jalen Hurts, when they had even Mac Jones and AJ McCarron. I mean, they just don't. They don't seem to have. Maybe they have the speed and they just don't get the ball in space to people. But I would probably. I'm not crazy about this game because I'm not crazy about Tennessee on the road either. I don't think they've got the mental toughness to go on the road and really win a game like this. But I probably wouldn't bet this game at all. But if I did, I'd probably take Tennessee to cover, but Alabama to win.
Nate, got any thoughts here?
I mean, my thoughts is that this looks, in my head, I think this looks like a good spot to bet Tennessee. Alabama, barely beats Arkansas. They play a close one against A&M. Last couple of weeks, Alabama doesn't look incredible. Tennessee's defense is pretty strong. And this feels like sort of a natural sort of like sandwich spot for Alabama, because basically like next week against LSU is sort of their big game. They beat LSU, they go to the SEC championship game. That's just how their schedule is shaken out so far. So this game, isn't as important to them. So in my head, I think Tennessee. In my heart, I think like this just looks like an Alabama team that's sort of getting better. I wonder what Tennessee will look like against sort of a mobile quarterback with Milroe. And I think that my heart is going to win, and I just think Alabama probably just rolls Tennessee here in a game where nobody's giving Alabama a ton of love right now. And Alabama just goes out and thrashes them, and then we all look around, and next Saturday we'll be like, Alabama's pretty good. So,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're definitely going to beat LSU, but I think Tennessee hangs around here. I don't think Tennessee is that bad, and I think Alabama does that a lot. So, look, we'll see about that game. We'll be back here next week for Alabama LSU. Absolutely big SEC West contenders, I suppose, although LSU blows. So it's just going to be Alabama. They're going to end up winning the whole thing here. So we'll see. Okay, let's move on to our Godzilla wins saucy game of the week. We got one for college, one for NFL. As always, Red State Barbecue brings you the saucy game of the week. This is going to be Penn State at Ohio State. Huge game, major implications. If you love barbecue just as much as I do, and Nate and Dan and Chap and my dad, you got to go to Red State BBQ. You can type in shop.redstatebbq.com and shop all of their sauces and rubs. They got a bunch of sauces. I like the Memphis Sweet. I also have some of the really spicy one that they have as well. The Alabama sauce is incredible. Always a little bit different. The Alabama white sauce, a little bit different for barbecue there. But if you love barbecue, these are reasonable sauces at a great price, incredible. I'm talking incredible sauce. And all you got to do is go to shop.redstatebbq.com. Put in the promo code Godzilla10. That's 10% off. Godzilla10, Godzilla10 get you 10% off. They'll ship it right to you. Comes quick. Nice glass bottle. I've got the pork rub, which I've been using on some barbecue as well. So grab some dry rubs, grab some barbecue sauce, and enjoy our saucy game of the week. Number 7, Penn State at number 3, Ohio State. I believe those are the rankings. 3 Big Ten teams in the top 10. Can't really be college football if all the Big Ten teams aren't in the top 10 in October. That always seems to happen in college football. Everything shakes out at the end. But Dan, we'll start with you because these are teams that, I mean, you cover. I know you've covered the Big Ten for a long time. Everybody can go to GodzillaWins.com. They'll see your write-up, Penn State, Ohio State, on the site. What's your pick for our saucy game of the week, Dan?
I mean, I think I got to lean toward Penn State here. Like, Ohio State just has not looked like, I mean, it's a lot like Alabama. Ohio State has not looked the part of a top quality team. Kyle McCord hasn't really shown that he can move the football against a quality defense, and this is by far the best defense that Ohio State has seen all year. I mean, I know that they played at Notre Dame and they got a decent test there, but Notre Dame is not on Penn State's level, and I think the Nittany Lions have been building toward this game for several years now. If they don't do it now, then it's really tough to see when they're actually going to break through and get to a Big Ten title game because they have the personnel in place. They have one of the best defenses in the nation, and they just really need to put together a complete 60 minutes against Ohio State. I think this team is good enough to do that.
Chap,
Yeah.
is Penn State going to pull the upset today?
Okay. Short answer, yes. And let me talk about it. I agree with what was just said about Penn State. I think has the best defense in the country. And I've got a little bit of a personal connection. A kid who came out of Fairfax City, played both youth league and high school with my son for years, named Tony Rojas. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year in Virginia last year, All-Met Player of the Year as a linebacker, went to Penn State and is not starting. And not because he's a disappointment. He's going to be in the NFL one day. But their linebacking core is so good that it's hard for him to get snaps. And he's, in my opinion, the best linebacker coming out of the high school last year. And their depth is so amazing on defense. I'm not as impressed by their offense. I'm not yet sold on their quarterback. But I'm just telling you, all 22, Penn State might have the best team in the country. I think they go up to the horseshoe and win. I really do. And I think they'll beat Michigan also. So that's where I am.
Nate, I mean, like Dan said, at some point, the Nittany Lions have to get past Ohio State. If they're going to compete for a national title, this is where they always falter. James Franklin can't win this game. Is this the time they do it?
I think that Dan's right. If there ever is going to be a time, I think it has to be now. I mean, Penn State's looked great. The defense has been incredible. There's a little bit of a hang up for me just in the Penn State hasn't played a really good offense yet, but they've still looked great. Defensively, Ohio State seemed vulnerable, I guess, at times. Like, I mean, the Notre Dame game wasn't great. I mean, they should have lost that game. So, I mean, I guess I lean Penn State. The only hesitation that I have is that Ryan Day is so good against everyone not named Michigan.
That's very true.
State's my team.
We want to thank Dan Angel for joining us today. You can find him on Twitter, DanAngel11, or on Instagram, Dan.Angel11, and all his writing on GodzillaWins.com. Thanks, Dan, for joining us. And Chap Peterson, state senator from Virginia. Loved having you on, Chap. Hope to have you back. A lot of fun. We'll do some more college football, so we'll definitely have you back here. Should be a lot of fun. In the next hour, we got Darian Kelly and James Tillman III. We're talking NFL, all NFL coming up next. Don't go anywhere. We're handicapping all the games right next.
You're listening to Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network. For a deeper dive without the jive, visit the website of winners, GodzillaWins.com. Let's get back to the show with the guys in the know, John, Jack, and Nate. It's Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Godzilla Wins Pick Show. We're joined by senior contributor to GodzillaWins.com, James Tillman III, resident Bears writer, resident Bears sufferer, I guess, and really our WNBA guy at this point. I know James. We're going to talk in a little bit, probably closer to when the NFL season is over, about the NBA, because you write incredible picks for the NBA. They're extremely popular, but the WNBA has been just a really fun thing for, I think, me to publish and us to read. I've been really happy with all of that coverage. That season just ended. Why don't you take, James, just take a minute, like 30 seconds, and tell us how the WNBA season ended. Then I'll tell you guys about my pillow.
The teams that were in the finals, the Aces and the Liberty, are the best two teams in the league all year. So it was a highly anticipated matchup. Aces dominated the first two games before the Liberty took game 3 and forced a game 4, and game 4 could have went either way. So I think that I like the way the season ended, and I think based on post game comments and what may have you, I think this is probably going to be a good rivalry between these two teams going forward.
I think so too. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and the WNBA is kind of skyrocketing in popularity. So it's been a lot of fun to see that as well. That women's college basketball season is going to be coming up as well, which is I think this will be the most watched, most anticipated college basketball season for women's that I can remember. With Caitlin Clark coming back from Iowa and Angel Reese down there at LSU with a big transfer as well. So they're going to be a team to beat. And of course, South Carolina is always good. I think a lot of people are going to be watching women's college basketball that they haven't watched in the next place. So we'll see. Now, listen, if you just are fresh off a WNBA championship, you got to get a lot of sleep. And the best way to get sleep is through MyPillow.com. MyPillow 2.0 is the best pillow product on the market. Go to MyPillow.com. That's MyPillow.com. And you can find all of your pillows, towels, robes, slippers. And listen, the promo code FUN, this is the best promo code we have. Really, to be honest with you, up to 80% off all products. So when you put a bunch of stuff in your cart, you're like, oh, I think I need some slippers, might need a little robe here, love the pillows, everything in your cart. When you go to checkout, you put in that promo code FUN, F-U-N, promo code FUN, up to 80% off on all products. Get a nice little discount there. They will ship it to you quickly. And all you got to do with that pillow, you just throw it in the dryer. It's the most important part there. Got to fluff it up a little bit. I didn't know that about pillows. I don't know if that's true of all pillows. Not exactly like a pillow guy. I kind of just fall asleep wherever constantly. So it just doesn't really matter where I am. I'm not exactly one to tuck myself into bed, but I learned that you throw the My Pillows, you throw them in the dryer when you first get them, fluffs them up nice for you. Really great products there. So listen, we love My Pillow and we love all they do for us. My Pillow 2.0, MyPillow.com, promo code Godzilla, promo code FUN, up to 80% off. All right, here we are, James and Nate. We're gonna be talking NFL. I mean, season's heating up here. We know a lot about these teams now. We're going to start with the Lions at the Ravens. Detroit at Baltimore. These are the afternoon games. Lions are a 3-point dog against the Ravens. Over-under is 43, which is a little bit low for NFL, but for a lot of these totals, it's actually one of the higher totals until we get in some of the other games, some of the later games. Those afternoon games totals are lower. James, we'll start with you. You like Detroit in this spot? I don't know. The Ravens have been weird this year.
I do. First of all, Detroit's been pretty good to me this year as far as riding with them against the spread. So I'm definitely a fan of them covering that spread. They're pretty stout across the board, both offensively and defensively, except for being ranked 18th in total passing yards a game. So I have them as 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 road games, while Baltimore is 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 Week 7 games. So I like them to cover here. But I think that's one of the at the same time, I think that's also one of the better afternoon games as well.
Yeah, I mean, this, look, I don't have Sunday Ticket anymore because they took it away from me, and I'm not buying YouTube until they sponsor our show. But so I'll be watching the Saints again, as always, on cable. But if I did have the Sunday Ticket, I'm sure I'd be watching this game. Nate, what do you think here? I don't know. I don't feel like I'm sold on the Ravens. I mean, they're 4-2 straight up. They're 4-2 against the spread. They cover. But I don't know. I don't know if 3 points is a lot.
I'm not sold on the Ravens either. I don't look at the Ravens and think they have an identity. Like, you look at the defense and you think, oh, the identity is defense. Like sort of a classic Ravens team. But every offense they've played is terrible. Like, I don't know how much those defensive sort of stats make a difference when you're just beating up on teams like Green Bay, Atlanta, Tampa, Carolina. Like what do you learn about a defense playing those teams? I don't know. So, and I think that Detroit's like a real team. Like I've been staring hard at Detroit futures, thinking like this might be like a weird sneaky Super Bowl team. So I think I'm just going to take Detroit plus the points. I think they probably went outright. I just think Detroit has shown me more, and I think that they're just a better team. Like I know what Detroit is. I still sort of week to week don't really know what the Ravens are.
Well, I mean, I think the Ravens are first in the AFC North. I think that's what they are. They blew that game in Pittsburgh. That was a bad loss for them. They are injured all the time. So that's the problem with the Ravens, even this season, that when you're handicapping, it can be hard to know exactly what's going on because they're always injured. And if you're always injured, it'd be really hard to know what you're bringing on the field all the time. So I don't know. I mean, I actually kind of like Baltimore in this spot. Ooh. I think everybody gets really hot with Detroit, and then they kind of let you down. The -3, I just feel like it should be -1, but I feel like maybe Vegas knows something I don't. I think everybody's probably on Detroit, so I might just zag, go with Baltimore. They'll probably get the doors beat off them, and I'm gonna regret that decision. But I won't be able to watch it because I'll be watching the Saints. So let's go to the Raiders at Bears. Las Vegas, traveling up to Soldier Field there. Bears, James, the Bears are only a 2.5-point dog. So that's, we're not back in the +7 after that win on Thursday night a couple weeks ago. Over under 37.5. So not a lot of confidence that either team can get in the end zone. Maybe they'll kick a couple field goals. James, we'll start with you as always. You've got your Bears picks on GodzillaWins.com. Anyone who's a Bears fan or just a fan of good writing, go to GodzillaWins.com. Go to the NFL tab. You'll see James's NFL writing on the Bears here. So what do you think, James? Can they cover that 2.5 points?
I'm kind of conflicted here because last week they did from a defensive standpoint, they did a decent job against the Vikings, albeit they were without Justin Jefferson. So to see them hold the Vikings to like a little bit over 200 yards and still lose that game, that was kind of disheartening to me. So, and I know their backup eventually came in, but even before Justin Fields exited the game with that thumb injury, I mean, they weren't playing well at all. I mean, he was 6 for 10, 58 yards and an interception, and so they're capable of covering, but I'm just after last week, I'm just kind of like I don't know about these guys. It's kind of like what Nate had mentioned about the Ravens. I'm not sure what kind of identity this ball club has, because it just seemed to be roller coaster throughout the season. So, but I'll go out on a limb and I'll go with them covering the 3 point. But I'm not. If I was rating this pick, it would probably be like a 1.5 or 2 star out of a 5-star scale. So,
yeah, James just can't help himself there. Doesn't matter what the game is, what the situation. All he does, James, you'll talk for 5 minutes about how much the Bears suck, and then you'll be like, but even though they suck, I think they can definitely cover the spread. So I think your heart's in these games a little bit more than your head at times, which, hey, I understand that. Nate, is it a bad thing that Justin Fields is hurt? Look at Tyson Bagent. Maybe he's the guy of the future.
I think that it's a bad thing that Justin Fields is hurt. I don't think 11 months ago, Tyson Bagent was getting just destroyed by Colorado School of Mines in the NC2A Division II college football playoff. So I'm not really sure that Tyson Bagent in the last 10 months has gotten like NFL good. Considering he lost 44-13 to Colorado School of Mines again. So I think there are real concerns there. I think that there are real concerns that Brian Hoyer just like retires in the middle of the game because he's like, I don't know, eligible for Social Security, probably towards the third quarter or fourth quarter. So I think there are real problems here. I guess, I mean, if you want to watch this game, like, have fun. I mean, like, this makes me happy that I don't have, like, the Red Zone channel, because if I ever had to switch to watching either of these quarterbacks in the Red Zone, I'd probably away from my TV. I think under. I guess like under. Like, how do they score? Like, how do you score with either of these quarterbacks? Under 38. There's just trying to break this down anymore just feels silly.
I actually love the Tyson Bagent angle for this reason. This always happens where a stupid quarterback that doesn't have a future in the league comes into a game and throws like 3 touchdowns and goes like 9 for 22, and they like win.
Is he
and
the next Brock
like,
Purdy?
Yeah. Well, everybody's just like Tyson Bagent, just coming out of nowhere. Maybe he's going to steal the job. Maybe this is the Bear. And then, next week he throws 75 interceptions and you literally never see him ever again. Sometimes that happens in the NFL where these guys have like one weird week, or even just give me like a half. Like, let me take the Bears in the first half, because I know Tyson Bagent's just going to come out and throw just a stupid touchdown pass, and everybody's just going to be like, "Oh my God, Tyson Bagent!" And then it'll unravel from there. I mean,
he got sacked 8 times in his last college game.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, that's not his fault. I mean, like the line didn't look. Colorado School.
The Bears are going to protect him better.
The Colorado School of Mines has always the Colorado School of Mines has historically always had a solid defensive front. So whenever
engineers know how to get a quarterback.
Yeah, whenever you go up against Colorado School of Mines, you have to be aware that they're going to put a lot of pressure on you. That's what they do out there, and I don't know where probably Denver, right? Where's the Colorado School of Mines? It's got to be Denver. I'll find it. Look, I like the Bears here first half. That's my pick, just because the NFL is stupid and sometimes stupid things happen. Let's go to the Browns at the Colts. This is a game with maybe a little bit more on it. Nate, I'm going to start with you because last week we were all over the Colts. We were just like, man, the Colts are good, and nobody can convince us otherwise. And then they got the doors blown off them in Jacksonville after we thought the jet lag angle was going to be a huge problem for the Jags. It was not. It was not. The Colts did what the Colts do, which is let us all down. Anyone who's a Colts fan will remind you that whenever you pick the Colts, they're going to lose. So Colts are a plus 3.5 point dog at home here against the Browns, who of course have a great defense. Over under 41. Nate, we'll start with you. Do you like the Browns here? Are you off the Colts?
I mean, I like I mean, so it looks like Deshaun Watson's going to be back. That's sort of most important news for this game in terms of injuries. It looks like Deshaun's back. I mean, maybe he's been throwing the ball in practice. All the Twitter experts that I saw said he looked great in the sort of section that was open to the public. So I sort of lean Cleveland in this game. I think that the under is probably a little bit of a safer play just because the Browns defense is real. I mean, they made San Francisco look not very good. And San Francisco is dealing with some injuries, sure, but San Francisco hasn't been stopped by anybody in like what feels like a decade. The offense has been so dominant between this season and last. So I think that Cleveland, like, they don't even really need Deshaun Watson to win this game, particularly against the Colts, who are dealing with their own issues, especially now that Anthony Richardson's, shelved for the season. I think under here, but also Browns.
I don't think the Anthony Richardson.
I don't think it hurts him that much.
No, I don't think so either. I think Minshew's fine and can probably steady the ship enough, but I do sort of understand where you're coming from. I like the Browns here, Deshaun back, but it's not like Deshaun's looked that good either.
No, he hasn't.
You can't love Deshaun in this spot all the time either. So I don't know. We'll see. James, what do you think?
I got the Browns here as well. As you both alluded to, I mean, their defense is real, and I haven't had a chance to see a bunch of their games. When I was looking over their stats and just how impressive they were against the 49ers. I mean, they held them to 215 total yards, 3.6 yards per pass completion, and 3 for 12 on third down situations. So, and then they're also 5-2 against the spread in their last 7 against Indy. So I like the Browns here. But what I would like to pose a question to you both, as far as Anthony Richardson goes, do you think that he kind of tweaks his playing style going forward? Because I know that I've seen like highlights of some of his games, and he takes a lot of hits. So I'm just wondering if that's something that they're going to look at going forward, like once he returns to the fold.
Nate, you think he adjusts that playing style?
I don't think he's capable. I don't. For him to adjust his playing style means that he needs to become like a good pocket passer, which he has never been. He wasn't in Florida. He's not been in the NFL. I don't know if he can get I think if he gets away from this sort of style that's, sort of like hard running, super physical, I'm not really sure he's going to be that good of a quarterback. I think that's sort of like what makes him intriguing, what makes him exciting. The injuries come with it. But I'm not sure that he's a very exciting player if he, tries to like play it safe or protect himself more.
I think he can learn. We've seen guys learn before. I mean, it just kind of depends who you have around you, what your offensive line looks like. That's a lot of it too. And how willing you are to adapt your game. I think there's a part of him who could understand in the next couple of years. Like, this is what he knows how to do now. And one time I listened to Jonathan Vilma on the Mina Kimes show talk about or I think it was on Rosillo's show on The Ringer, talk about how defenses would just eat up rookie quarterbacks. Like, it was just a joke. Like, they would just, and of course that Saints defense with Vilma back in the day was really good. It wasn't a bad defense, but that it was like laughable that they would just sit back there and just sort of just destroy these guys because the game was moving too fast and they didn't understand. They couldn't audible. But so, you bring in someone like this, Richardson, you tell him, hey man, play your game because you don't know anything else right now. So play your game and we'll see what happens. And I think at some point, Richardson, if he wants to stay in the NFL, is going to have to adjust. And that adjustment's going to look like a pocket passer. He's got the arm. I mean, the guy throws the ball 100 miles an hour. He throws it downfield. He doesn't need to run. I think that's what he's comfortable with. But depending on his offensive line and his quarterback's coach, I think they can make him into a pocket passer. They're going to have to. Otherwise, he's going to be injured all the time, and they'll never get anywhere with their progression. And I think this was a big pick for them. This is a guy they really want to invest in the future. So if they get the right people around him in the right situation, then I think he can turn into a pocket passer. But as of right now, I'm sure the coaches are just like, look, man, you know how to do one thing, and you do that pretty well. So do that, and we'll work on the other stuff. And I think he can learn. So I think he will. But if he doesn't, he's not going to be in the league. I mean, that's just, you can't live in this league running around. You have to learn how to throw in the pocket if you want to be successful in the NFL. That's just how it goes. Look at Josh Allen, who did that a lot last year. Or not last year, but in his first couple of years where he just running around all the time. So, we'll see. Looks like Dad's back in. That's terrific, Dad, because we're about to talk Bills at Patriots. Speaking of Josh Allen. So, listen, we'll start with you, Dad. The Bills are a 8-point favorite. Patriots suck, I think. I think that's kind of I hope everybody can agree that the Patriots suck. So this is a division game, though, over under 40. What do you think, Dad? Bills -8? I know you got to love the Bills here, right?
This is like old, when you say division game, that was when we had a real division and the Patriots, were the Patriots. This team is really bad. And Belichick, 1-5, he's got to go through a rebuild. He didn't want to do it. Mac Jones is not the answer. Last season, they really had a good defense. They stopped a lot of teams. They won games that way. 2 seasons ago, if they don't get beat on the road at Indianapolis, they're the number 1 seed and not Tennessee. So a lot has happened in 2 years with this team. They've gone down the tubes. They're not playing well. They got a lot of holes in that lineup. They got a lot of injuries. The Bills are going to win this game. And I've said this over and over and over. When a team is going to win a game and they're 8 or 9 or 10 or 7.5, you really got to just lay the wood because the Patriots are not going to win this game. So, yeah, maybe they get a backdoor cover, with 2 minutes to go. And, Mac Jones, there's a tip ball and somebody falls out in the end zone and, it's 7 instead of 8. Love the Bills here, -8. They're just a better football team. One team's heading north, one team's heading south.
Nate, usually I would say that that's not good analysis. It's never good analysis when you're talking about when he starts talking about this team's better than that team, so lay the wood. But I think in this position, the Patriots suck. So I don't think 8 is too big of a price. I think it should be 11.
I agree. Yeah,
I think that this the way I'm looking at this game is the Bills have had kind of two sort of clunkers, right? They lost against Jacksonville in the London game a couple weeks ago, and then they don't play great last week, and they sort of barely squeak out that win against the Giants. But this is also a Bills team that destroyed Miami, and if I'm looking at comparable teams they've played this year, the impotent offense of the Commanders is probably the closest thing they've played to a terrible offense of the Patriots, and they destroyed the Commanders 37-3. So I think that probably Buffalo just picks their score. I don't think that the Patriots have any way to really slow them down very much. I don't think that the Bills are going to stay down forever. I think that 2 weeks is probably about as long as they can play bad football or mediocre football. So I think the Bills probably just come here they've been destroying the Patriots recently in this series anyways in the last few years. I think they probably do it again.
James, 30 seconds. Bills or Pats?
I'm going to go with the Bills here, and I'm also going to go with the spread. They've lost 3 straight. They've been outscored 93-20 over that stretch. Buffalo's 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 versus the Pats, and 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 road games against New England. So I'm going to go with the Bills here.
Yeah, I think the Bills have a long memory of the Pats just destroying them for years and years and years. I think they really get up for these games and like beating the bag out of the Patriots. So I see this as a big game for the Bills. I think they blow them out. I'm not big on those big spreads, but I don't think the Patriots defense is as good as people think. They're 1-5. We're kind of struggling there. Dad, we're going to go get to some games in a minute here, but I would love for you, if you're in Virginia, to tell everyone, if they're in Virginia, how they can take advantage of Rosie's Gaming Emporium.
Hey, do you like to have fun? I like to have fun. Everybody knows, work hard, but I really like to have fun. Also,
everybody knows
you can't
that.
do politics. Yeah. You can't do politics 24/7, 365. You just can't do it, man. You got to unplug, you got to unwind, got to have fun. See, look at our guys here. They're all having fun, right? Even the millennials, you got to have fun. You guys have fun, right? The Zoomers got to get a little bit long in the tooth. Got to enjoy your life, right? Most fun thing I do is taking my darling wife Ann to Rosie's. We have so much fun. Like as soon as you walk in, it's like, okay, it's fun time. They got the OTB, they got the sports book, they got the football games on, they got the slot machines. But I tell you what, Ann has a good time there because they got the biggest payouts and the biggest jackpots. The food is great, drinks are reasonable. It's just a fun place, and they're all over Virginia. All you got to do is go to rosiesgaming.com, rosiesgaming.com. You got Collinswood by Danville on the south side. You got Hampton in Hampton Roads. You got Richmond south side right by my office. Walk there. You got Colonial Downs, which is in New Kent, right there. And then you've got Dumfries in Northern Virginia. And then you got Vinton right by Roanoke. So you got every possible location you could have. And it is so much fun. Go to Rosie's Gaming. I love Jack's little thing there. That's pretty good, Jack. Go to rosiesgaming.com. I love that. Rosiesgaming.com for fun. And let me just give a shout out to my friend Nate Mize there that runs the place. He's the marketing director. They've built a culture of just really great people. And there you go, rosiesgaming.com. There you go, man. James Tillman wishes he was in Virginia so he could go to Rosie's. Biggest jackpots and biggest payouts. Rosie's Gaming. To have fun. like me, I'm having fun today, even though I'm at a political event. I have to sneak out so I can get back on the show. Got my Stros hat on. Oh, by the way, there's a thing on this Astros hat. Right on the side here, it says, see this? World Series champions. Is that an amazing little insignia there? I just noticed that. Amazing. I'll put this back on there.
Oh,
Love
incredible.
your hat, Jack.
Oh,
Does
yeah.
Nate have a
Ditto.
hat on?
He
What is
does.
that you got on your head,
Yeah,
Nate?
I don't have my Astros.
Is that
hat
an
on
Eagles
today.
hat? What is that? What kind
Yeah,
of
it's
hat
my
is that?
Eagles hat. It's
Some
just a
kind of
hat,
green
John.
thing.
Sometimes you
Look,
just
it's
have
a-
a hat.
It's just a hat,
A
man.
Jetsons hat. Oh, like a hat without like meaning something?
Well, look, whoever it is, they're not a sponsor, so we're not giving them any more time on this.
That's right.
If whoever Nate's wearing, if they want some airtime, they're gonna have to pay up front first. So okay,
Yeah, Nate.
let's move on to we got about
I
4
like
minutes.
I like Jack. Jack, you're getting in this radio thing, man. You got you know what? I'm gonna have to retire. You come take this whole thing over, right? 20 stations. You can do that morning show. You can take the whole thing over.
Wouldn't that be good
What do you
for
think?
the brand?
No,
No.
Who's
Thank
gonna
you.
do it?
I don't know, but not me. But I do want people to sponsor our show so we can pay James for all his incredible writing. Okay, let's move on to the Commanders at Giants. I'm chopping at the bit to talk about this game. The Commanders are -3, so they're a favorite. Over under 37.5. We'll start here with Nate, who's our NFC East guy, our expert here. So any interest in this game? I mean, I guess I kind of like the Commanders here, but I always like the Commanders. I think I'm a Commanders fan.
I mean, I think that I mean, I guess by like default, I like the Commanders. I guess I think that last week's kind of fluky close score with the Giants, which we talked about on the show last week, you know, they kind of showed up a little bit against the Bills, is maybe making people think that they're better than they are, but the Giants are not good. The Commanders are like decent at least. Giants are still terrible. I think that you and John could probably try out for the offensive line for the Giants at this point. They've had so many injuries. They're signing people off their couch. So, you know, from that perspective, I just think Washington's just much better. I think they'll sack whoever's playing quarterback for the Giants 1 billion times. And then that'll just be that. Commanders.
What do you think, James?
Yeah, I like the Commanders here as well. Although I thought it was kind of ironic to see that both teams are actually ranked pretty low on both sides of the football. So, which I didn't expect that when I was doing some research on this game. So, Commanders 7-2 against the spread in their last 9, 5-1 in their last 6 October games. And the Giants are 0-5 against their last 5 NFC matchups. So I'm going with the Commanders here.
Yeah, look, Dad, the Giants. I mean, they just unraveled this year. They were a sexy pick to maybe challenge the Cowboys. They had a great season last year. They've totally unraveled. Do you like the Commanders -3?
Here's what I can't get over, guys. I can't get over this, right? They paid Daniel Jones $140 million. I can't get this out of my mind. I think about the Giants, and all I think about is, oh my God, you're saddled with this cap thing for the next 20 years. And then I feel bad about the Titans, and I'm like, okay, we got a bye week this week. We have no quarter. Good, we can't lose. We have no quarterback. And then I'm like, well, at least we're not like the Giants. We didn't sink $140 million in this guy. I mean, of course I like the Commanders or the whatever you call them now. I like watch. This team is pitiful. They have no quarterback. You know, it started in the offseason where they were dorking around with their running back. Just pay the guy. He was the heart of the team. You know, it creates bad blood, locker room dissension. They don't pay him. They're going to, you know, the whole thing has been a disaster from day one. But when you got to pay Daniel Jones $140 million, I mean, there's no way out of this thing. It's like you stink for like years now over the deal you made. So yeah, I like the Commanders -3.
I mean, when you watch him, I think you just try to talk yourself into it. It's not as bad as Zach Wilson. He's got legs. You think, I don't know, maybe he can do this. We got a good run game, but yeah, that was not probably not the greatest investment. Other ways to spend your money, I think, if you're the New York Giants, maybe just buy some gold or something and go without a quarterback. But
the thing of football, it's not like baseball where you can just, there's no salary cap. Like you can be like Cohen in the Mets and just, pay half the salaries, and you play Houston and Texas or whatever, saddled with this thing. I mean, there's no way out of this. And so it's gonna it's
true
for a while, and then you can't replace them because you got $140 million sitting on the table. It's real. It's just it's sad. But the guy, and I agree with your analysis. Sometimes you see him, he gets a first down running, he completes a pass. You're saying, well, maybe I was wrong about this guy, and then like 2 series later, you say, no, I was right. He sucks. That's basically it. Worse than Tannehill. That's
for real. Okay, so we got one more afternoon game here, but we're going to welcome in Darian Kelly from the Georgia Sports Network. You can find Darian.
What's up, DK?
Twitter at DKSports410. Happy to have him on the show. Talk some NFL. Love his insight. James, I know I had you scheduled from 8 to 8:30, but if you'd like to stick around for 8:30 to 9, you can. If you have somewhere to go, you can leave. But either one is good for you. We'll keep it kind of loose here. NFL is always fun.
James, where else would you go, James? I mean, there's nowhere else to go. You're on Godzilla Wins,
I mean, I think he's got a family.
What other thing could you possibly have to do?
Yeah, he's got a family. Not all of us like drive around on a bus all our life, like going to political events. I think some of us have to attend to other responsibilities. But if he wants to stick around, he can. Otherwise, he can go. James, just tell me before you go so I can holler at your Twitter handle there. Okay, let's talk Falcons at Bucks here. Falcons plus 2.5. That seems about right. They suck. Going to Tampa Bay, over under 37. We're going to start here with Nate. Nate, I kind of like Tampa, just in general. So I like that spread. What do you think?
I do too. I think, Tampa's played good defense. Baker Mayfield's been okay at times. I think that my thoughts about Tampa and liking Tampa this game are mostly that I think I'm just giving up on the Falcons. Desmond Ridder just looks terrible. The offense just can't get anything going. The Falcons haven't made the step forward that I thought they would after last season. I guess the betting angle that sort of is interesting to me is, as I read this earlier when I was getting ready for this, Desmond Ridder has never covered a first half spread in his entire career.
Oh my God, I love that.
Ever. Wow. He fails to cover it by an average of a little over 6 points a game. So it's like not even that close. So I guess just Tampa Bay first half. I guess I'll just keep that momentum going. I mean, Tampa looks like a team that should win anyways. They just look like a better team. Atlanta just looks like a team that just is really struggling to sort of find itself offensively, especially when they ask Desmond Ridder to throw. So Tampa Bay first half, he just keeps sucking in the first half like he has for his entire career.
James, you got any Falcons love?
No, I'm gonna go with the Bucks here. I mean, the Falcons did get off to a 2-0 start, and I think they've dropped like 3 of their last 4. Ridder had he did throw for 2 touchdowns, but he also had 3 interceptions last week as well. So, and while both teams seem to be very bad against the spread, I'll spare you the details. But so I'm gonna go with the Bucks and 2.5, and then I'm gonna get going here.
Yeah, when it's bad. ATS when Darian won't even let you know how bad it is. When he wants to spare you the details, it's been pretty bad against the spread for both teams. Definitely true of the Falcons. They can't cover, and they were cover machines last year, but everybody was high on them this year. Dad, what do you think?
Well, I kind of agree with No Hat Nate on this one. Speaking of hats, DK, what's on the front of your hat? Like, what's the backwards thing going? Like, what's on the front of that hat? I want to see it. What is it?
So. Georgetown.
Okay. Well, we got some college basketball coming up soon. Good deal. Go. Interesting. Orioles, Georgetown, and what was your
Georgetown
football
Hoops.
team? What?
And the New Orleans. I said Georgetown Hoops specifically, and football teams New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, too bad about the Saints.
Ah, the Saints.
The
That's
Saints.
good. The Aints. Listen, I agree with No Hat Nate about the first half and Ritter throwing interceptions all over the place. But I'm going to go with the Falcons here because Tampa Bay really disappointed me last week. And eventually, this kid Ritter, eventually he's got to put a good game together. I'm hopeful that Arthur Smith has got a better game plan for him. So I'm gonna go with Atlanta. I've been on him for 3 weeks. I've lost 3 bets in a row. Call me stubborn, but I'm going here with the Dirty Birds turn things around, win a game.
Darian, how'd you become a Saints fan?
So I was just really captivated as a young kid, particularly with Joe Horn. I played the receiver position, and we did the cell phone celebration. I'm like, this is my squad. So just from that moment forward, that I think it was a Monday night game, if I'm not mistaken. It kind of like solidified it for me.
Do you ever go down there you ever seen you go down to New Orleans a lot?
The funny thing is that I've never been to New Orleans in my life, but I will get there. My goal is actually have a trip planned, I believe, coming up in the next couple months to go.
Not going to regret it.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, it's one thing to see a game in the Superdome. I lived there for a while. I'm always in New Orleans. But if you get down there at any point and you don't, this is anybody who lives in the area or is in New Orleans for a game, go to the Kingpin. It's a bar in Uptown off Britannia. It's called the Kingpin. It's kind of an Elvis themed bar. But they do it's one of my favorite places in New Orleans. They do incredible Sunday Saints game. The whole thing's packed out. Like most bars in New Orleans, there's free food, so you just go eat as much as you want. But it's a live atmosphere. It's a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite places. So you get down to New Orleans and you're not at the Superdome. If that happens, go to the Kingpin on Britannia. You won't be disappointed. Shout out to the Kingpin there. One of my favorite places in New Orleans.
What about the best restaurant in the world, Boucherie?
So if you want some good food, Boucherie,
really good.
go to boucherienola.com. You can check that out as well. Incredible food, incredible brisket. They smoke everything. Chef Nathaniel Zimmern is just a really, really wonderful chef, great guy, and an incredible experience. If you're ever there, boucherienola.com, you can find all the information there. Okay, let's move on to some of the afternoon games here. Ooh, looks like we lost Aaron. Hopefully he comes back on here. We'll move pretty quickly through. There he is. We'll move pretty quickly through a couple of these games because we are behind. So we're going to go quickly through Steelers Rams here. Steelers are a 3-point favorite, underdog over under 44. Rams have been hard to pin down. As we go around the horn, keep it to about 30 seconds here so we can catch up on some of these games. Nate, we'll start with you. Steelers Rams. You like the Steelers?
God, I don't know. I mean, normally I love the Steelers, right? This isn't like my favorite game. I mean, but it is just totally in the Steelers' wheelhouse. It's a +3. If they were at home, this would be like probably an auto bet for me. I think that this is probably a Rams game, though. I think that the Rams are getting better. Cooper Kupp obviously makes a big difference in that defense or in that offense. They've been playing really well. I, along with many others, were sort of not super optimistic about the Rams having a great team this year. But this Steelers team is pretty deeply flawed, particularly offensively. So I like the Rams here.
All right, James, what do you think?
I like Pittsburgh in this one. I like the way that they're better than I thought they were going to be this year. So I'm going to go with the Steelers in this one.
Darian, everybody knows Mike Tomlin, cover machine with the spread there. You like Pittsburgh?
Love Pittsburgh in this particular position. I think they're going to bring a lot of pressure on Matt Stafford. When he has a clean pocket, he is efficient. But I think that the Steelers are going to bring a lot of pressure. They have the fourth highest league pass rush grade according to PFF. So I think that's going to be the defining factor. They're going to disrupt that Rams offense. I'm leaning Steelers here.
Dad, you're a Pittsburgh resident now. You got to take the Steelers, right? Look, I got a lot of friends, coincidentally, who have been moving to Pittsburgh. Looks like the hottest town in the country right now. You like the Steelers?
Yes. Why? When I can get Tomlin as an underdog and take 3, look, Rams have played over their heads, but I agree with James' analysis here, or DK. I've heard whoever just said it. They're going to put tremendous pressure on Stafford. He's just not mobile. And so when you've got a defensive front like Pittsburgh has, they're going to be all over this guy. The Steelers are a tough team to predict. Obviously, we carry them on a radio network and all of our stations. We're the official Steelers affiliate. We even have in Pittsburgh. So, games are on all the time and you follow them. But their defense is real. I mean, they have all kinds of problems in the red zone. But I like Pittsburgh here. I like Pittsburgh here on the road, taking the 3. Rams are playing over their heads. At some point, that stops. So yeah, like that.
Yeah, hard to know exactly where the Rams are. I kind of like the Rams. I'm with Nate here. Rams -3. I thought they've been pretty good all year. They screwed me on Monday night one night, but for the most part, they've been pretty good. So let's go very quickly now through the Arizona-Seattle game. This is not a huge game, and we want to get back on track time-wise. So we'll go kind of around the horn here. Seahawks are -8.5-point favorite. Cardinals, of course, been struggling all year. Over under 44.5. Nate, you like the Seahawks?
Love the Seahawks here. Love the Seahawks -8.5. If you want to tease them down to a 2.5, I think that's fine too. If you find a worthy teaser partner, like maybe tease down San Francisco to 1 and Seattle to 2.5. Yeah, Seattle's just a better team. Arizona's still just living a little bit on the memory of them beating the Cowboys, but Arizona's bad, and Seattle is getting better every week.
Yeah, I think that's pretty sharp analysis, James.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Seattle here as well.
Okay, so short and sweet, Seattle. Darian, what do you think?
Seattle, Arizona is awful. They've lost, their last, I believe it's like their last 3 games. They've lost by 19, 14, and 17. I think this is a bounce back game for the Seahawks. I'm leaning Seahawks here.
Dad, you hate Arizona. You just, for some reason, it's just a team you despise. There's no way you're picking the Cardinals here.
No, they suck. They have no culture. I mean, if you look at their front office and Bidwell, he's a jackass. He's always yelling and screaming. People don't want to work there. Culture matters. That's what my column is. But I'm glad that I'm wearing off. That I'm educating all of you millennials on this show. Keep coming on, because now you're all saying the same things I've been saying for 2 years. Cardinals suck. Seattle's better. 8.5 doesn't matter. Lay the wood. They're a better team, right? That's what you're all saying now. 2 years ago, you're all making fun of me, and now you're all John Frederick's acolytes. So I'm with Nate. No hat, Nate. I'm going Seattle -8.5, baby. I'd lay 10.
Yeah, just because you said that, here's my pick. Cardinals +8.5. If you're going to sit here and say, good thing I'm educating y'all, I'm just going to go in the opposite direction there. So I'll take the Cardinals +8.5. Book it. Maybe they'll get some of that Diamondbacks magic. So we'll see. Now, Dad.
Look, it doesn't matter what you say. I love your hat. So, it's all good.
Yeah, that's true. Listen, Dad, one of the ways that you're able to do the things that you do so often and so with so much energy is through Healthy Cell. Tell us a little bit about how you get the best sleep in the nation with REM sleep.
Let me just tell you, when you have to travel like I do, and you got to take bottles of stuff and put it in, forget it, man. Think about REM comes in a little packet, so you can pack them in your shaving kit or whatever. You open it up. I don't have one handy. You rip it off. You down it. 20 minutes before you go to bed, you're out. You dream. You sleep deeply. Now, look, I don't get 8.5 hours of sleep like you're supposed to. I wish I did. I am on Sundays. That's about it. So you got to get a good night's sleep. REM sleep, it's all natural, but it supports all 4 phases of sleep. So you can take melatonin or melatonin, whatever that is, and stuff like that. That's going to help you fall asleep, but it doesn't support your stages. Thing about REM sleep is you're going to get in that deep sleep, which is where your body rejuvenates, regenerates your cells. That's the kind of sleep you need, is that stage 4 or whatever it is that you learned in college. But you got to get in that deep sleep. REM sleep does that. It's non-habit forming, and it's all natural. best thing you could possibly take for your body. All you got to do is go to healthycell.com, healthycell.com/Godzilla, right there, healthycell, that's CELL.com/Godzilla, promo code Godzilla. You're going to get 20% off. You can thank me later. And it doesn't take 2 weeks. It takes one night. Rip it, down it, throw the package out, get the best night's sleep you're ever going to have.
There we go. Rip it, down it, throw the package out. That sounds like medical, the medical advice of an expert there. So look, we love
I'm
healthy
expert on a
cell.
lot of things.
Yeah, I know you are.
Baseball, football.
Yeah, getting a good night's sleep for 2.5 hours. Okay, so let's move on here. Here we go. Packers, Broncos. Green Bay traveling up to Denver there, high altitude, over under 45. Nate, I think this is crazy. I mean, the Packers this bad that they only get 1.5 against the maligned Broncos?
I mean, I don't know. The Broncos are not good, right? They're 1-5. But Russell Wilson, like, I think that as bad as the Broncos have been, Russell Wilson sort of has been sneaky good. And I think that the Broncos aren't maybe as bad as we think. Once they get sort of some of their organizational issues figured out. But I want to bet the Packers here. I think I like the Packers just better. I think this bye week came at a really good time for the Packers. It allowed them to get a lot of their defense healthy that had been injured. Christian Watson's coming back healthy too. So I guess I probably won't bet this game, but Green Bay is kind of where my head goes for this. It just looks like a team that's needed to get healthy and got healthy.
Yeah, James. I mean, I don't understand the spread.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like I've always say. So I'll be consistent. This low spread, I feel that it can go either way. But so that being said, I'll take Green Bay in the 1.5 here because Denver just can't stop anyone. So and Green Bay isn't this offensive juggernaut by any means, but I think they can. I think they can play well enough to cover the modest spread here.
Darian, any love for the Denver Broncos?
Absolutely not. They are allowing the most points and most total yards in the entire league. I'm leaning towards the Packers. I agree with James and Nate. They'll bounce back in this particular game. It's going to be close, but if it's a pick 'em, I'm leaning towards the Packers to take this one away.
Dad, no way you like the Broncos here. You got to love the Packers.
So just think about this, guys. So 12 months ago, Sean Payton's playing golf. He's leading a good life, right? He's playing with his kids, his grandkids. He's going to casinos. He's playing a little blackjack. He gets on the Sunday NFL shows. He does a little analysis, gets a big fat check for smiling on TV, right? Life was really good for Sean Payton. Then all of a sudden he says, oh, I'm going to come out of retirement and I'm going to coach the Denver Broncos and take them to new heights if they just had a coach. And then, of course, the first thing he does is blast the former coach who's now at the Jets who just kicked their ass, right? So he does that. So now he's got to endure. There is a God. He now has to endure coaching this team through the season. They are pathetic. They stop no one. Russell's done. The whole team is done. They're going to get blasted here. I love the Pack in this game. It's my best bet of the week. They got a bye week. Until Sean Payton can go out there and throw passes or tackle people, this team is going to continue to lose. Worst decision in the history of man, Sean Payton going back to coach the Denver Broncos. Pack -1.
Worst decision in the history of man. Okay. Chargers, Chiefs. Here we go. We got 3 games, about 10 minutes. We really want to spend some time on Dolphins, Eagles. So let's all get to the Chargers, Chiefs. About 15, 20 seconds. Not a lot of narrative here. Chargers plus 3.5, over under 47.5. Nate, like the Chiefs here?
I like the Chargers. Chargers, always play up or down to their opponents. Chiefs have sort of struggled to shut the door on opponents. So I like the Chargers in a divisional game here.
James.
I like the Chiefs here. I think I came across a stat that said they've won 45 of their last 51 divisional games, and that 5 spread is probably rather accurate. I think in recent head-to-head matchups between these two clubs, it's been within a touchdown. So, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Darian.
I'm going Chargers here. Chargers have according to PFF, number 3 in sacks right now. I'm leaning Chargers. I think that the Chiefs are not in a good spot right now offensively. They're trying to get it together. I don't think they get it together this particular game. Leaning Chargers.
Yeah, I love the. I'm sorry that spread. I think it's 5.5, not 3.5. So it's plus 5.5 for the Chargers. I love the Chargers D line. I mean, they've always been pretty sneaky good. Dad, what do you think?
I'm going with the Bolts. This is my upset of the week. I think they're going to win the whole game. I'm getting 5.5, and they do. They play up to their competition. They've lost a lot of close games. They're a better team than their record shows, and Kansas City is a worse team than their record shows. Now, your grandfather said you'll never make any money betting against the Chiefs at Arrowhead, so I kind of stick by that. But here I'm going to go not with Sam, your grandfather. I'm going to go with San Diego plus 5.5, and I think they're going to win the whole game. This game has got upset written all over it. Go with the Bolts.
Yeah, I like the Bolts too. But you never know with the Chiefs. They can always blow anybody out. Okay, let's move on to our saucy game of the week, our NFL saucy game of the week.
Saucy.
Dolphins
5-1
traveling to the Eagles, also 5-1, over under 51.5. Dolphins are a 3-point dog traveling up there to Philadelphia. Maybe the Eagles catch a little bit of that home field advantage that the Phillies enjoy so much. Huge game, big implications. Maybe a Super Bowl matchup. Maybe. You just never know with the Dolphins. We all know the Saints can do this, but before we do, we all know the Eagles can get there. Before we do that, though, we want to remind everybody, go to Red State BBQ and grab some of that sauce. Go to shop here. Where my little whiteboard here. Shop.redstate.com. Godzilla 10 is the promo code there. Godzilla 10. Get 10% off all of your barbecue needs. We love Red State. We love that they partner with us, and we love their sauce. Dad is muted, but he's over there gushing about. There he goes.
We don't go anywhere without our BBQ. I just had to leave and go get it. We got a BBQ here right in the refrigerator. Never leave home without it. Texas spicy is what I got here. North Carolina spicy vinegar. Sometimes you got to spice it up. Saucy game of the week. You are going to love this barbecue. There's 7 of these. Pick the 1 or 2. Try them all. These are the 2 I like. North Carolina spicy, Texas spicy. Also like the Memphis sweet, depending on. But I never leave home my BBQ. Now all you have to do is go to BBQ. I'm sorry, RedStateBBQ.com. RedStateBBQ.com. Let me say it again. RedStateBBQ.com. Promo code Godzilla10. Get 10% off. And they're supporting our show. So if you love our show, get saucy with a little RedStateBBQ.com.
Nate, Dolphins +3. You like the Dolphins here?
I don't think so. I mean, the Dolphins have played a bunch of really bad defenses. And I think that we're all thinking that they look like the greatest offense in the history of the NFL, and it doesn't feel terribly sustainable to me. I mean, I just don't know what you learn running up the score, or scoring a ton of points against the Broncos, the Chargers, Panthers, Giants. Like, I don't know what we learned about that team in terms of offense. So I don't love that. I think that Philly probably will still be cautious about their offense and probably look to run the ball. I guess where I'm going with this is I like the total. I've been betting a lot of primetime unders this season anyways. They've been good for the last few years, hitting at a super high rate. I'll probably just bet the under in this game as well. I think that Philly probably tries to control the clock. I think that Miami at some point will regress on offense.
James, any love for Miami?
Both teams can, they're pretty good as far as on the offensive side of the ball. It'll probably come down to which team can make the most plays on the defensive side. But I'm going to go with the Eagles on the spread here.
Darren, looks like you're shaking your head about the Eagles as well.
Yeah, no, I love the Eagles in this matchup. I mean, Jalen Hurts is, I think he's 13-1 at home. I think that the Philadelphia defense is going to really lean on the Dolphins. I do agree with Nate. It's going to be a big time possession game, but I'm leaning Eagles here. Dolphins, I believe, have the 26th ranked scoring defense, which is atrocious. So, and they're giving up 99 passer rating to quarterbacks. What do you think Jalen Hurts is going to do with A.J. Brown? They just brought in Julio. DeAndre Swift, he's rushing really well. I like the Eagles here to win candidly.
Dad, you want to lay the wood? Eagles -3.
Well, listen, I mean, the Dolphins are like the James Harden version of football, right? Double the offense, half the defense. I mean, it's like, let's just score, but we don't play defense. Hey, how soon can we get the ball back so we can score again? I mean, that's just not the way it works. You got to have some semblance of a defense. Look, Arizona was moving the ball on them down the field last week. It's just that they outscored them. So, look, as long as it's like James Harden Central going on to Dolphins land, Eagles got a good defensive line. Now, the problem with the Eagles, guys, and I've said this all season, is they got a real problem in that linebacking core. It's very, very weak, and it's going to show up in big games. That's why I still think Dallas is going to end up beating them, and why I don't think they're going to beat San Francisco. They got a real linebacker issue. When you got Zach Cunningham, who the Titans cut him in training camp, starting at middle linebacker, you got a problem. But I like their D line here, and the Eagles are just going to score like crazy. So I'm going to lay the 3. I like the Eagles. You got to play defense. Dolphins don't play defense, and until James Harden wins the championship, I'm not betting the Dolphins to win a big game. So I'm going with the Chiefs.
I like Miami here at +3.
I'm sorry. Going with the Eagles -3.
Yeah, I'm gonna zag where everybody else is. I like the Dolphins +3. I mean, why not? Like, they play really well. They can jump on a team. They can go pretty quick. I know everybody loves the Eagles, but I just think at some point, if you're the Dolphins, you have to be for real. You have to beat a good team, and you have to do it at some point in prime time. This is their spot, but who knows? Maybe the Eagles win. All I'm looking for is the cover. I don't care who wins the game. Dolphins +3. Okay. About 30 seconds for everybody. Maybe we just say our pick. Very little narrative here. Niners at Vikings. I mean, what do we even have to talk about anyway? Niners are the best team in the NFL. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. Who knows if anyone's going to beat them? All they do is beat everybody by 100 points. Greatest defense I've ever seen. Good offense. Mike Shanahan's a genius. Playing on Monday nights, they get an extra day of rest. Playing the Vikings. Vikings suck. They never seem to do anything that they're supposed to. They did beat the Bears last week, so they got to keep that in mind, I guess. Beat the Bears. So Niners -7, over under 44. Nate, I don't know, man. You got to like the Niners, right? I mean, or what do you like, the under, just because the Vikings probably score 0 points?
Niners. I mean, the Niners, aside from that hiccup last week, have just dominated everyone. The whole narrative has been Brock Purdy can't play without a billion Pro Bowlers around him, but they're still just so much better than the Vikings. Vikings are awful without Justin Jefferson on offense. Kirk Cousins is 2-10 in his career on Monday night. Give me the Niners.
James.
Yeah, I like the Niners here as well for a lot of the same reasons that Nate mentioned. I mean, they barely got past the Bears, so and just based on that alone, and they're smart not the last week's loss. So I think they're gonna play much better this week, and I'm gonna go with the Niners.
Darian.
Niners. Vikings are gonna get a pissed off. The best defense in the league. They're gonna get a pissed off defense. Kirk Cousins, 13-41 against playoff teams. And he also shrinks in prime time. No Justin Jefferson. Niners all the way.
That's an incredible stat. 13-41 against playoff teams. Like, I mean, that's. I'm glad you brought that in, Dad. You got about 15 seconds.
You like that? I bet Cleveland last week. I knew the Niners were going to let down. Not this week. And without Justin Jefferson, I mean that really is a blow for Minnesota without Jefferson. So pissed off. I think Darian's right. You got pissed off defense here. Not a good position for Kirk.
It is
like that Cousins to be in.
It really is.
We're going to go with San Francisco.
Looks like
-7.
Looks like everybody loves San Francisco here. We are at the end of the show. I want to thank James Tillman III. As always, you can find his writing on GodzillaWins.com. Find him on Twitter at TillJam3. I want to thank Darian Kelly. We love having him on with his Georgetown hat there. Find him on Twitter at DK Sports 410 And you can follow the Jersey Sports blog as well, where DK works really hard. He works hard for us as well. Thank you all so much for another terrific show. Good luck today and tomorrow, and we'll see you next week.